You're listening to Investify, preaching financial independence and assisting investors to achieve a more flexible and free lifestyle through smart financial planning and real estate investing. If leaving the corporate world and jumping into this thriving industry is what you desire, tune in and listen to stories of like-minded individuals who made the leap to financial independence. Equip yourself with the right tips and tricks to start your real estate journey, making active or passive ventures that are highly profitable and rewarding. Here are your hosts, Craig Curelop and Zeona McIntyre.
What's up, everyone? You are listening to Investify. My name is Craig Curelop, aka the Fi Guy, and I'm here with my co-host Zeona McIntyre, aka Z Money. Z, how you doing today?
I am doing pretty well. I am really excited because we have a special show for you guys today. We had somebody reach out. I can't even remember. I think it was on Instagram, but he said that he listens to our podcast a lot and he wanted to know if we were going to do a video or something on our 2023 goals. And so he wanted us to cover something about, what goals we had in 2022, what went well, what didn't go so well, and then talk about what are we doing differently in 2023 looking forward. And I don't know about you, but I love to reflect. I actually have this whole weekend slated for visioning. My partner's out on a vision quest, actually, with a group, and I got left at home, so I'm going to do my own vision quest. And so this is perfect timing for me to really sit in, what do I want? What's the clarity? What's the vision for next year?
Yeah, I think I'm really excited for this episode. It's a little bit of a unique spin, right? There's no guest. It's just you and me. And all the people, that song. But just you and me, and we're here to just tell you guys a little bit about disclose what's happened this year. It's so easy for us each week to just get so enthralled with our guests that we kind of forget what's going on in our own lives and forget to tell you about all that. So we want to just keep you updated. And see, who was that person? Do you know who that person was that reached out? Because it'd be cool to give him a shout out.
Yeah, that would be cool. But I don't. Sorry. That was buried deep in my DMs. Oh, okay. So maybe that could happen at some other stage. But the second part of his question, which I don't want us to forget, is that he wanted to know if we had any advice to give for our newbie selves. So if we were to go back and start again, what would we tell newbie us? So we'll definitely put that in as well in all of what we talk about today.
Yay, so excited for this episode. And Z, why don't you kick us off, which were some of the few things that you did this year that give us some of your highs first and then we'll go lows.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of go maybe a little more chronologically, but this year, we're recording this now at mid-December, and for me, I got the opportunity to write a book for BiggerPockets right around this time. It was really towards the end of December, and so we started the project, Sarah Weaver and I, the beginning of January, and that project took us 3 months. So that was something where, luckily at the time, I had a lot of space, and I could dedicate about 2 hours a day on my work days and write. And I got this from you, which is so great. But you really just said, hey, you've just got to time block it. You can do it. It's not that hard. And I think the combination of having the accountability of the BiggerPockets team, Sarah, and then just other friends like you, so many of our friends have written books, just kind of cheering us on, it allowed it to happen. And so I think what was really, really valuable in writing a book, not only is just the experience now of having it out in the world and people saying that it's helping them, but it was such a personal growth experience. And I wonder if this is something you experienced as well in your couple of books that you've written now. But for me, there were days that were just beautiful and inspired and so fun. And then there were days that were really hard, where I had a lot of judgments coming in, a lot of my demons, a lot of imposter syndrome, all that kind of stuff. And so, for anybody out there who wants to write a book, definitely, reach out if you've got questions. I do think it's a very doable task, but know that there are hardships too. I'm curious, how was it for you, Craig, in the times that you've been writing?
Yeah, we think we've had similar experiences, Z, where, the first, like, it's really exciting at first, and you probably get off on a really cool roll, and for the first couple of weeks, you're steam rolling, and then you get this, like, oh, what if no one reads it? Or, oh, what if everybody hates it? Or, oh, what if it doesn't sell? Or, oh, man, like, you get all of these demons, like you mentioned. And then it's like, oh, who am I to write this
Yeah.
book? Like, I only did this many house hacks, or I only have this many medium-term rentals, or there's someone that's more qualified than me out there, and there probably is. But the point is that
Yeah.
you got the opportunity for a reason. And, you do just have to, like, no matter what happens, make sure you get your 500 words a day in, or 1,000 words a day in, or whatever quota you set yourself. Make sure you do that. And I think it's amazing how little pieces, it's like the compound effect, right? 500 words a day, after 4 or 5 months, you're going to have yourself a book, right? And so it really doesn't take
Yeah.
that long to write it. You just have to do the process.
Yes. And the key that you told me that I found also was really, really important is just having a solid outline. So do not just start writing chapters or something kind of willy-nilly. Have a solid outline. And if you build out all of the little subsections to, really expand on that, then it will help you to go back and say, oh, what do I need to write about next? Or what am I trying? What are the points that I want to cover in this section? So that was super, super helpful.
The outline will write the book.
All right. So what else I did? So around May and also in July, I ended up selling a property that we had in Missouri. So I had 4 properties in St. Louis, and now I'm down to just the one, and I'm selling it right now. But earlier this year, so in May, we did sell one. And then with that, we were able to 1031 into a new property. And I also bought another property not long after. So that was like, I don't know, I like to buy at least a property a year. And so it was nice for me to just kind of get to do that, sort of reorganizing my portfolio and dropping things that are not working as well for us and picking up things that we feel really inspired by. So that is something that I will be continuing on. But what was really exciting about that is just having numbers that I can give people in presentations that are current. Because I think a lot of times what's hard is that you tell people, hey, you can do this too, but I bought this house 5 years ago. Well, those numbers don't exist anymore. So I really like having something relevant and new that I can be sharing with people and saying, this happened this year and you can do it too.
So, Z, I got a question for you on that, though. Why did you go ahead and sell? Because I imagine houses you bought a few years ago are going to cash flow better. Obviously, you probably got some equity built up in there that you could maybe redeploy. But, like, why lose that cash flow? Like, why? Like, or were they just pains in the butt properties, or?
Yeah, I think that when I started real estate investing, I bought what I could buy, right? So that took me into St. Louis into a cheaper market, and I was buying 100-year-old homes that had a lot of kind of quirks. And it was so great to hold those homes and take care of them for maybe 5 years or so. But after that, I was like, cool, I'm going to send this down the river for somebody else. And I think none of my properties were particularly bad, but I just wanted to find something that was easier. So in 2019, 2020, I bought a lot of new construction. In 2021, those numbers didn't work the same, so I wasn't doing that, but I knew I wanted to sell some of the older homes and find something different. So I ended up buying a short-term rental in Washington State, which was kind of a fun departure for me. And then I ended up buying a place here in Denver. I'm in Boulder, but close enough. A 2-bedroom MTR. So yeah, really, really enjoying that property. And, we closed in July and I still have the exact same tenants. No, nobody's moved yet. So it's been really easy for us as well.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about like your foray into Washington in the short term, and why Washington, and all the stuff you did there?
Sure. Well, this was really an experiment. So I think 2021 was really the height of short-term rentals. They'd never been so big and so in demand and so sexy as that year. And so going into 2022, I was thinking I would love to find a new market that hasn't popped yet. And, if people are coming from the BiggerPockets world, they're very familiar with Avery Carl. She was also on our podcast. But she taught a lot about specific markets. And every time she would talk about a new market that her agents were in, it would really just explode and kind of oversaturate. So I was looking for kind of new markets, and I ended up hearing about one from one of my coaching clients, one of my consulting clients, and she was analyzing this house and decided to pass on it. And I thought that it was really interesting. So I ended up moving forward with it. And it's worked out pretty well. But I think the thing that was hard for a lot of people in 2022 is that short-term rentals did so well in 2021 that people were ending up basing their numbers on something unrealistic for this year. And as we've kind of slipped into a recession, short-term rentals are just stagnant. And they might be for a little while here. So I think that's part of the reason why I love an MTR right now is because people are not traveling for vacation. They are traveling for work. And so that is a big distinction. And that will continue to be important.
Love that. Okay. Love that analysis.
Yeah.
See? And then, so what about your place in Denver? Same kind of idea?
Yeah, well, so I had this 1031 and I had to buy something right away. And the clock was ticking. We had kind of messed it up. We thought that the place in Washington was going to work as our 1031. It didn't. We messed it up. So I had kind of run out of time and had to buy this other place.
Why didn't it
so
work?
it ended up working out great. Well, we were able to qualify for a primary loan. And you can't do a 1031 with a primary loan. You have to do an investor loan. So it was just kind of a tricky thing. So we bought 2 properties instead. And so this place in Denver was magic. I ended up finding it at the last minute. I think I had 2 days left to identify once I was under contract, and I got it for a screaming deal, and there was no competition. It was just kind of crazy for that time because even in 2022, early on, it was really competitive. So we ended up closing in July, and I was in Europe at that time. But I had a lot of help from my designer and some of my assistants, and they put it all together without me being involved. So it really came together, and we got it rented in a couple of days, and that tenant is still there. I think they're going to stay till March.
Wow, I love that.
It's very exciting.
That just goes to show you like how important it is to have a good team, have your systems in place, because if you do want that flexibility, like Z, I know your travel like 6 months of the year, or maybe even more than that, something crazy. Like you need to have your boots on the ground, your people that you trust, and clearly you've got that all set up. So
yes, and some of the highs and lows. So in June, I think it was the end of June, I went and spoke at the Investor conference, and I went directly from that conference to Europe. And at that conference, I got COVID and I didn't know. So I ended up heading to Europe and then having to quarantine in London. And so kind of messed up most of our time there. But we were able to spend, I think we spent maybe 5 weeks in Hawaii, and we spent 6 weeks in Europe going through Amsterdam, London, Sicily, and France. So we do lots of travel, and I am just so grateful for furnished rentals because they're the reason that I can do that. Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. And as I look a little bit later in the year, what's your question?
I was going to ask you, what else you got for us this year, Z?
Yes. So as I look later in the year, our book promo started like September, October. I took another page from your book and decided to get on as many podcasts as I could, and I'm shooting for 100. And that is podcasts, YouTube interviews, like Facebook groups, like any kind of thing that I could do to promote the book. And so that was a really exhausting pursuit, and I think that's something that will continue for a couple more months here. But has paid off. Our book has already sold over 10,000 copies, and it's just super, super exciting. So we're breaking records, we're kicking ass, and I thank you guys all who have bought our book and have supported us in it. So thank you so much. It is just so rewarding and such like a pinch me moment to see all these like milestones getting hit. So really, really cool.
Love it.
Yeah. Thank you. The last thing I want to highlight is just that this year really forced me into speaking. And if you guys don't know, I am terrified of public speaking. I remember one time I had to speak in Denver at an event, and I couldn't even enjoy the event or network with anybody because I was crying hysterically before and then did the thing. And then I was like, I had a headache and I was totally just like worthless afterward because I just felt so terrible. So I've gone from that to now speaking at the BiggerPockets conference, and I'm going to be speaking at Google and having just like so many crazy experiences speaking at all kinds of masterminds and conferences. So it really is just putting yourself out there in repetitive action, right? But feeling proud of myself.
That's amazing, Z.
Yeah.
Honestly, you crushed it at BPCon. I was
you.
there front and center watching you guys, and I think you did a great job. What is this Google thing? I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, so Google has a campus here in Boulder, and I'm just going to speak to some of the Googlies. I think that'll be really fun.
Googlites?
Little Googlers.
Googlies?
Yeah,
Googlies?
I think, yeah. But
That's so
yeah,
cool.
getting
About
a lot of
medium-term rentals
really
or what?
fun. Yes, getting a lot of fun opportunities to speak about medium-term rentals. Going to be doing that at Amazon. Just a lot of really cool things. So feeling really excited.
That's amazing.
But let's talk about your year, because people are probably tired of me, and then I can talk about the future. So let's hear, how did your 2022 go?
It's funny. I was reflecting back on 2022, and it's crazy. You know how like when you look back on the year, you're like crazy. All of this stuff happened, and it's like it's only been a year. Like it hasn't even been a year. I feel like I just did a lot of things this year, and I'm very grateful for it. And I will say that the last 4 or 5 years has been primarily money, business focused, and all of that. This year for me, it's been a focus, but it hasn't been like my go-to. Like my it just isn't even in my top 7 or my top 6, right, of things that happened this year. And so first thing, I'll kind of go chronologically as well. The first thing we did is we bought our forever home up here in northern Idaho, or at least we like to think of our forever home. It's not an investment property. We are still house hacking it, but we didn't buy it for the numbers. We bought it for our own happiness, believe it or not, and been settling in there. And that was kind of crazy because we didn't think it was going to close, and there was some crazy things happening there. But we were able to get in before the interest rates jumped. So super grateful for the lower down payment in what is going to be a long-term play for us. The second thing that happened just after that is I got married to my best friend and my beautiful wife, Grace. That was amazing and crazy to think that it's, obviously like time flies, but it's also crazy to think that was in February. Third thing we did was I ran an Ironman. Me and a few buddies trained and ran an Ironman in the Ironman World Championship in St. George. So that was probably the biggest athletic feature of my life. While running the Ironman, we were doing...
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, though. Like, what did it take for you to get to the mental ability to do that? Like, I feel like I could never do that. I can barely finish a 30-minute workout.
I tell you what, the human mind is an incredible thing. And it was really just a test of mental fortitude. So I signed up for this because I felt like I hadn't done anything hard athletically in a really long time. Like, sure, I go to the gym regularly and all that, but it wasn't like I didn't push myself beyond like what I thought was possible. And I wanted that. And so someone said, hey, if you can do a 14er, which is like a high mountain climb here in Colorado, which I do a lot of, you can easily do an Ironman. And I was like, huh, okay. And so I went and I looked at what Ironman races were available. And it turns out that Ironman St. George was available. And it was, at the time, it was not the World Championship, but it was the hardest race and it was the most beautiful course that they offered. So I'm going to go for pretty over easy. So we decided on that one. The one on on Big Island, which is usually the World Championship, got canceled because of COVID. So they moved the World Championship to St. George. So they made that course even harder than I was anticipating. And I was like, you know what? If I can do the hardest course of Ironman, then I don't have to do another one in my life. And I only want to do one. So I went ahead and just started training. It took 10 months of training, running, biking, swimming, doing each one of those activities 2 days a week. And And you'd be surprised. Honestly, I think anybody could run an Ironman. I really sincerely believe that because you have 17 hours to do it. You know what I mean? And so like if you just it's just all about
Wow.
taking that next step, that next step, that next step. And it sucks. By the end of the day, you're horrible. But it's one day of hell for a lifetime of achievement. And so I like those kind of like big leverage things where I can just have one day of pain and I can say I'm an Ironman for the rest of my life. So yeah, I mean,
You heard
it was
it here
incredible.
first, people. He leverages
Yeah.
every part of his life, not just his real estate portfolio.
Not just my real estate portfolio. Yeah. So that was crazy. And all like in that Ironman was actually in the middle of a 6 week long road trip that Grace and I had done through kind of like the Southwest. I guess like we started in Idaho and down to Denver, but then did like Colorado, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, all the way back up to Idaho, and that was just incredible.
Wow, I didn't even know you guys did that. That's awesome.
Yeah, we were recording the whole time too, Z. That's how stealthy I
So
am.
sneaky. So sneaky.
I know. So yeah, these are all like great things. I guess nothing to like. I mean, these are all the great things that financial freedom has gotten me, right? So I started with real estate when I was 24, and I made a lot of decisions that put me in a position of like almost it felt like struggle, but not really. Like I was sleeping behind the curtain. I was living with roommates. I sacrificed a lot, and this year felt like I was reaping the fruits to a lot of my labor, right? Where I'm doing all these fun things. So we another thing we did is we did 2 trips to Hawaii this year. I didn't even realize they were both this year until recently. That's how like long the year has felt. But yeah, we went to Big Island, spent it with some friends at this like mansion that they let us have for a crazy good discount. And then my wife and my
Nice.
wife just surprised me with a surprise 30th birthday trip to Kauai. So we've been to now 3 of the 4 Hawaiian island, 3 of the 4 main Hawaiian islands, and yeah, so it's great. We love Hawaii. But Z, nothing beats in our head. Nothing beats Maui, and we're attributing it to the fact that we knew all the good places to go because you were like the best tour guide ever. So
That's right.
yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Great. Are those all your things? Do you have more things?
So those are like the fun things. Then there's also the business things. Oh, one more thing too is I've also grown a lot in my faith this year. And so in September, I made the decision after about a year of really contemplating it to get baptized. So that was like a whole new journey and a whole new spiritual awakening that I've had. And I'm growing in that and learning through that. And yeah, that's been really exciting as well. And I know some people are left or right on that, but it's okay. I love everybody for who they are. It doesn't matter. But yeah,
Nice.
so that was a big thing. And then now, so that was my top 6, right? And now we're talking 7, 8, and going down. These are more business stuff. And so the FI team has grown, right? We now have 12 to 15 agents in Denver, all of whom are really excited about helping people achieve financial independence through real estate investing. We've grown to Seattle. We've already done 5 or 6 deals in Seattle in the first couple of months.
Amazing.
And as well as in,
I love that.
yeah, it's been great, as well as in the Inland Empire and San Diego. And so we've done about 3 deals down there and still growing, still looking to grow down there as well. And so, yeah, the FI team is growing. It's been really, really fun kind of expanding to other cities and watching the team grow and watching our agents kind of take on some leadership positions. We've got one guy, his name is Ian. He hosts a podcast called Invest in Denver. So we're empowering him to do that. And we have one woman named Anik. She's starting to throw some kick-ass events in Denver for us. She's been loving that. And so just really empowering the agents that are going through to actually, make them feel like and show that they're super valued, as well as leaning into them and doing what they want to do so they get to help them generate more and more leads for us and for themselves. So it's been great. Just love being part of the team. And then the last and final high, I'm sure there's more, but this was kind of the biggest one for me, was speaking at BPCon, not on house hacking, which is something that I've been done for the past 3-4 years. And I love house hacking and I'm always happy to speak on it. But I was actually on a panel with Tom Ferry, David Green, Sarah Weaver, Mindy about how to be an investor-friendly realtor. And I think that might be, it was kind of like an inflection point for me where a couple of people came up to me after and said, hey, I really want to learn from you. I really want to grow and scale my team like you have. Because I never even thought what I was doing as being a real estate agent was even special. I thought like how I was helping people was special, but not how I was helping agents being special. And so that helped me think like, oh, maybe I could help agents out as well. And so now I'm looking to think about, okay, how can I help agents help house hackers and real estate investors achieve financial independence through real estate investing? Because that's such a bigger lever, right? Like when I was just an agent by myself, I did like maybe 90 or 100 deals in my first year, and that was crazy. And I'm like, I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, but that was my cap. It was probably like 100 deals in that first year. But now, if I can have 15 agents each doing 10 or 20 deals, right now we're looking at 150 to 300 people that we're able to help. And if I can keep growing the agent count, that's so much scalable. We can help so many more people that way. And that's the goal, right? Is help as many people achieve financial independence as soon as possible. So yeah, that was my big year.
I love that. I love that. I thought that I would model my business after yours when I started, and we've really diverted to such different businesses, but it's really beautiful, right? So it's like I tried nurturing and building a team and realized that it's not my zone of genius. And that's something that your chief of staff, Cartelis, loves to say, zone of genius. But I was able to pivot and realize, wow, I really like doing referrals instead. And I like having more consulting and doing more of a digital online business than an agent business. So even though I am a real estate agent and I am in a few markets with my team, it's just not the same. So I love seeing how far you're able to take it. And I also just want people to see that if you're an agent and you want to leverage, there's so many different paths and it doesn't all look the same.
100%. Yeah, and it's so funny because you can always go down one path and realize it's not for you, and go down a different way, which if it's okay, I can get into some of my lows too. There's some things that I said I was going to do this year that I didn't do because I decided to pivot. And the biggest thing that I said earlier this year that I wanted to do was I wanted to get into a commercial property by the end of the year. And as I was doing research, I went to conferences. I did all of the things needed to like get into it education wise. And I feel comfortable if someone's going to come to me with a commercial property, I think I know how to do it. But it came down to when I was in Hawaii with a group of friends, one of my good friends, Nate Smith, he was on our podcast. He said to me, he's like, you should just stick to your lane. And he's like, you've learned how to do residential. You've learned how to buy properties in Denver and all these other areas. You built your team. Why not just like make it easy on yourself and just keep investing in places that you know, keep investing in things that you know. And then when you get to a point of having $5 or $10 million net worth or whatever that is, then you can maybe start leveraging into the commercial space and start playing a little bit more. But until then, why don't you just like get there? And I really kind of like weighed in on that and like sat on that for a long time, because like it's easy to like get that not imposter syndrome, but it's like you start comparing yourself to other people. And I see all my friends going into commercial and doing all this stuff, and it's so easy to compare yourself. And I'm like, you know what? Like that's not my goal. Like my goal is not to have 6,000 units and $100 million in assets under management. Like I want a simpler life with enough passive income for me and my family. And so, I pivoted, and first to admit that I didn't do what I said I was going to do, but I think it was for a reason, and it took me a long time to come to that decision. So yeah, that was like one big, I guess, like low-ish point. But I wouldn't really
I want to talk about a low too.
Yeah,
I'm going to weave in some lows. One low is something I'm experiencing right now. I went from being so balanced and so perfectly financially independent to getting to a place, and I think this is probably something that a lot of agents can resonate with, that it is confusing where to invest your money. Marketing or this or that or coaching or different programs. It's just a lot. There's a lot out there, and you're building this new business, and it almost seems like you're throwing spaghetti at a wall and trying to see what's going to stick. And so that has been a lot of learning with that, and I think I am getting clearer about it. But I think the other low of it is that since the book launched, it was such an influx of promotional opportunities and people coming in that I have really lost my balance and my really sweet, like 20 hours a week of work. I am not doing that anymore, but it is going to come back. And so I think one thing that you may have seen from, I don't know if that episode will have come out yet, so maybe I won't mention it. But what I will mention is having a strong vision and maybe a North Star of saying, this is where I want to go. And is this opportunity taking me closer or further from this place I want to get to? Right. And so I think that's something that I'm really having to focus on now, is weeding out what to do and getting clearer and clearer about where I want to spend my energy and just kind of holding good boundaries around that.
Yeah,
All right, you give us another one.
Well, I want to just reflect on what you just said there. So, how important it is to just Stephen Covey says, reverse engineer what you want, right? And so if you start, think about what you want to do in your life, right? And how you want to live your life. And I know you're kind of like frugal bougie, right? Like you like to save money, but you like to spend every once in a while too on some nice places or whatever it is. And so what is it going to take you to get there? It's not, most people don't need to have 10,000 units. Most people don't need to have X many property, whatever it is. Figure out what your goal is and just get there. And know that real estate is not supposed to be your life, right? Real estate is supposed to fuel everything else in your life. That is your relationships and your experiences. Those are the only two things that you get to take with you when you go, relationships and experiences. And so make sure that you're just really spending time and money into those things. And Z, I think you're a perfect example of that. I think we all need to be more like you in that regard.
Usually, but this is a good reminder. And
Maybe
I do
not right
love
now,
that term.
Yeah.
That term frugal bougie is great. Thank you for that.
So yeah, I guess one of my lows is that I told myself this would be a year of leveling up, and it has in many ways, right? Like I said, the Iron Man was a level up, getting married is a level up, getting baptized is a level up, forever home is a level up. But one way I didn't level up was this commercial investing. It really, my whole investing portfolio in general, we spent a lot of our excess money that we would typically go ahead and invest in rental properties. We spent it a lot on settling into our house, between buying furniture, and I built a chicken coop, and which is actually kind of expensive, and all these other bought a cow, building things for that, right? And so we bought this we're just kind of setting up our property. And so I sat down with my wife and was like, hey, this year has been a year of, we've grown our house, we've settled in, but this coming year, 2023, I really want it to be something of, hey, we need to expand our portfolio more. And so hoping to grow the portfolio more in 2023. But that was definitely something that took a back burner this year, whereas life kind of came in. And like you said, Z, too, where it's hard to figure out where to spend your money. And we definitely elevated our lifestyle this year. It's we're still financially independent, but it's a lot closer now than it was. And so now we're okay, we want to get more rentals so we can have more of that buffer, because I'm not really comfortable making $10,000 of passive income and spending $10,000. I want to be making double in passive income. I want to make double passive income as I'm spending. Because also I like to keep saving that and investing in more and more and more. So.
Yes.
How
Agreed.
About you, any other lows you got?
I love to keep investing because my whole goal is that my active income will become passive income, right? So that's always the way that I'm looking at it. It's interesting. I'm not someone who dwells in the past. I'm such a forward thinker that sometimes it's hard for me to think about lows. So there's none that are really standing out, but maybe some more will pop up. Was that your last one? Should we move to 2023?
Yeah, and that was the big stuff. For sure. I'll reflect on two more really quick. We won't go into them too much.
Sure,
just because I have them written down here. Third one is I sold a property that I didn't want to sell. I originally thought it was going to be my best cash cow and all these things. And it turns out it was a hellhole, structural issues, all that stuff. I talked about it in previous episodes. And I ended up selling it though for pennies, and then not pennies, but sold it for probably 70% of market value to a wholesaler. And then I luckily enough got the seller to give me 80 grand because I think he hid some stuff. But so that was kind of a low. I didn't really want to sell that property. And then the last thing, number 4, is a few years ago, I was doing a burr out in Jacksonville, and this contractor totally screwed me out of $30,000. I took him to court this year, and the court actually put a judgment on him for 3 times the amount that he owed me, so $90,000. However, he just filed for bankruptcy, and he has like debtors ahead of me that he owes, and basically I'm never going to see that money ever again. And so I could keep throwing bad money at it, but I ultimately just said, you know what, I'm done with this guy. Just let it go. And so I guess that's a positive and a negative that I'm letting it go, but also, I spent a lot of money to try to get this money that I was never able to get. So
yeah,
there you have it.
I think that's like a great reflection for people. It's like, we're out here and we're sharing our stories, and some people would say we're kind of like gurus out there talking about real estate, but it doesn't mean that we're immune to hardships. And it doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes. We don't have bad tenants. We don't lose money on something. But luckily, real estate is such a forgiving asset, and that luckily you were able to just cut your losses on some of these things, like sell off that house that was a little bit of a money pit, and just move forward and know that that money put elsewhere is going to help you grow, and you're going to keep growing because you've got diversified assets. I can talk about a low now because I'm remembering it, but we had a flood in one of our houses this year, and it was literally like from one day to the next, no real warning, and not even in a floodplain or anything. It was one of those kind of like 100, 500 year occurrences, but it just kind of evaporated. And I'm not even sure what the total amount was, but probably around $12,000. And we were so fortunate to have that in the bank account, because I like to keep at least $1,000 or $10,000 for each of my houses, just sort of sitting there waiting. But it pretty much drained our bank account, and that could have seemed like all the cash flow we've made over years, like if I really think about it. So it's really sad to have that, but luckily this home has appreciated for us. We got it back up and running. It's in great condition now. Again, we've got tenants in there and everything is happy, but it was about a month that was really, really hard. Just not really knowing what's going to happen. Is this home going to be condemned? Will we have to get rid of everything? So it was a tough moment. No, because it's water entry. So something good for people to know is that there's 2 types of water issues that can happen. One is backup. So if like too much water fills the pipes and it backs up, you can have that covered. Unfortunately, that wasn't covered either because of, I don't know, a glitch in the system or something. But we also had water entry. So the water came in from the street and just like under the doors, essentially. And that is considered a flood. And most people don't have flood insurance unless you live in a flood area. So that is not covered. So no, this was all out of pocket. But again, we're here on the other side. Yep. So things do happen.
Yeah, real estate is hard, but usually there's a silver lining because there's a reason why people do it. The hardships are usually worth it.
Totally. All right, well, let's look forward to 2023. I imagine, it won't be so long because we will have more of a vision and less of all of the things that we're going to do. But why don't you tell me a little bit about what you're hoping for yourself?
Yeah, that's a great thing. So I'll kind of start with the business stuff because I think that's always like where the big goals come from. And so for 2023, like I said, we really want to expand our rental portfolio a little bit more. So I think I'd like to pick up like maybe 4 or 5 houses this year, probably 3 in like another cheaper market. We're kind of still looking potentially somewhere in Indiana or maybe go back to Fayetteville, and maybe 1 or 2 here in northern Idaho, Coeur d'Alene area. And just keep kind of like building the portfolio as we know how to build it. And so that's kind of like where we'd like to be by the end of this year. In terms of the FI team, I want to be totally grown out in Seattle and in the Inland Empire, San Diego. So if you're listening to this and you're in Seattle, you're in Southern California area, and you want to be part of the FI team and you want to partner up, like would love to talk with you guys about this. But really looking to grow the team and help more and more people out in those areas, as well as grow in northern Idaho as well. I'm licensed here in Idaho, and so I'm actually looking at with houses my first client today. So excited to get going here and kind of get back boots on the ground.
Oh my gosh, Craigie's out showing houses.
Yep.
I didn't think I'd ever see the day. Love it.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I like a small part of me misses it a little bit. So excited to kind of check it out. And then of course, ideally we'll grow a team out up here as well. And so that's kind of it from a business perspective. From a health perspective, I want to get to.
Let me ask a question about your business. So how did you guys do your goals? Because I think probably people are thinking, okay, I want to have a vision for next year, but like, how do I figure out what I even want? So did you guys get together as your team, and did you do like a retreat? Did you go away? Did you have a brainstorming session? What helps you find your North Star?
Yeah, so I guess from like the 5 team perspective, we run off of EOS. So that's like the Traction Entrepreneur Operating System. And so our 30-year vision is to reduce the U.S. retirement age from 65 to 55, right? And so that's going to take a lot of people retiring much earlier than 65 to get there. And we'd like to be a big part of that. And so what that looks like is, okay, like if we can help, 200, 300, 400 people in each market to start house hacking and start educating them on financial independence, that's just us, right? If we get 200 or so, that means there's probably at least 2,000 to maybe even 10,000 people actually looking to make a big dent in this, and then it's just a networking effect. And so our whole mission is to help people, and so then that's the North Star, right? That's like the way, way far away. And so now it's like our next step is, okay, like let's conquer Seattle and let's conquer San Diego, and we'll just keep moving from place to place to place. Another thing that we're going to do this year that will really help be another lever point is that one of my friends who also runs a team of investor-friendly agents out in Austin, we're thinking about joining up and creating a mastermind for investor-friendly real estate agents. And so that would just be something along the lines of, again, pulling that lever. If we can help more agents build teams that can help 100 to 200 people a year, that's an even bigger lever to really go towards that big North Star of helping people achieve financial independence. So yeah, that's kind of it from the business side.
Well, and I would love for you to talk just a little bit about how do you personally find your guidance? Like, are you using, just because people might be out there going like, I'm thinking of doing something where I want some accountability. Are you using a coach? Are you doing stuff in a group? Like, what kinds of things do you use for yourself?
I think a coach is absolutely indispensable. So I've had a coach now for the past 2 years, and they've changed, but now I've got one that's really helping me grow my real estate agent team. And so once you get to a team of 15 or so, it's hard to get people just looking, like it's hard to find people that are house hackers like looking just for you, right? So now it's like we're expanding into more of the residential space and educating those people about, oh hey, like you could house hack this place, and we're kind of looking to kind of capture some people that way, and so we're looking to kind of grow that way. The coach I think is insurmountable. Also being a part of a mastermind, like I'm part of GoBundance. A lot of the guys there keep me in check, keep me accountable, and all that good stuff too. So I definitely and there's you want to surround yourself with people that are older than you and that are where you want to be. Maybe not even necessarily older than you, but like they are where you want to be, and you look up to see how they got there and what their values are and what they say and do what they say.
Nice. Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. How about you, Z? What are some of your business goals?
I think what's really important to me now is realizing that this is like the first time in my life that I've had more opportunities than I can say yes to. I've definitely had a lot of varied opportunities come across my desk, and I've been able to just say, hey, I'll try this out. And then if it's not a good fit, change, similar to building an agent team. But now there's just too many, and I'm realizing like I'm spread really thin. So I am learning how to leverage my time. And this may look like doing things like here, where we are on a podcast where there's maybe 10,000 people listening, right? Instead of something where I talk to people one-on-one. So just trying to figure out, how can I leverage my time? How can I leverage my reach and be able to impact, inspire, share and just like help as many people as possible. And I think just doing it one-on-one is harder. So I'm definitely going to be doing a little bit less of that. The second thing is I really want to reconnect with what I love. So reconnecting to hobbies and reconnecting to being a whole person. I think it's really easy for me to just get into a workspace. I get so excited about investing, about learning something new, and just like really geeking into the space that I can lose myself and I can become such a one-note person that it's all about business and finance and not so much about, like you said, expanding into your spirituality, having, friends, relationships, travel, whatever feels really important to you. And so for me, I know that I'm out of balance right now and that it's going to be really important for me to take the next month or so to bring that balance back. So that is really, really important to me.
Okay.
I am less. Well, sorry, go ahead.
So we're going to keep you accountable, Z. You have to work less.
I love it. Okay. One of the things, I lost my train of thought, I think. Maybe I'll let you speak for a little while. Do you have any other things?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about from a investing perspective. Like I said, we want to pick up a few more houses. What our North Star is there is we just have like a passive income number that we want to get to. And it's hard because passive income is such a flurrying thing, right? Like you have one expense and then the whole number it's starting off for that month. And so how do you know like how much passive income you really have per month? So we just decided that we want to have like $20,000 of rent over our mortgages every month. And so everything else is like, $30,000 of rent over our mortgages, every month. And that like before property management, before everything. So after you take into account property management, expenses and all that, we're somewhere around that $20,000 a month that actually would come to us. And so that's kind of like how we're looking at it just on a broad perspective. And so we're kind of, slogging towards that goal. And that's just kind of like, because I've always looked at it as just the passive income number. And I was just like, just so confusing because it always changes. And especially with Airbnbs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so for me, I feel less inclined to have monetary goals. And I know it's this kind of like difficult thing that measuring by number of doors and measuring by income or how much money is coming through something is just an easy way to measure. But I find that I don't want to put so much importance in that space because I can get to a place, like you said, where you're comparing yourself, especially in social media where we spend a lot of our time because of what we're promoting all the time. So I don't really want it to be that I have this big goal towards number of doors. I just want to continually be improving my portfolio. So picking up things when I find good opportunities and letting go of properties that are not serving me or that my goals have changed. I think one thing that's really changing for me now that the more and more I learn about the medium-term rental space is that I want to get really into corporate housing. And so one thing I teach people about is that there's kind of the basic way that you can get into MTRs, and that's just renting off of Airbnb and Furnish Finder, but there's a deeper place where you can be getting contracts, and that can be insurance, it can be medical placement, it can be government contracts, a number of things, but they pay so much more, and they actually pay more than short-term rentals. So it's a place that we are dabbling in right now. And so to do that well, it feels like we need to have all of our portfolio kind of in one or two places concentrated so that we can be the guy to help anybody. So if you've got a referral for us, we can say yes. And so I definitely do want to have 5 to 10 places in the markets that I choose. And so I'm still figuring out what is that market, what is going to be the best for me. And time and again, I'm really excited about Colorado, even though the numbers are hard here, even though it's a very expensive market. But one thing that is nice is that I feel like there's a certain privilege that we have once you've been an investor for a while. you can say, hey, you know, I am going to invest in this market that is an appreciation market, or it's more convenient for me. And maybe it's an expensive market and I don't get as many properties, but I can do that because I have access to those funds now. And so I think that's kind of where I'm going. I do love Colorado. So we're gonna
Yeah,
see.
we had who was that guy that came on I follow him now on Instagram. He came on and
Jesse
he taught us.
Vasquez?
Yes, Jesse Vasquez. That was a great episode about that. Did he inspire you at all?
Yeah, Jesse has inspired me. He does mostly nurse contracts, which is also great. But I think it's just been that the more and more I hear about corporate housing and the couple people that I suss out that are doing it, I get very inspired by the ways that they can leverage their portfolio to have less properties, but just make so much more. So those are things that are very interesting to me right now. Yeah.
Got it. Cool. Awesome, Z. Well, that sounds like a fun year ahead. Do you want to talk about like non-business goals or?
Well, I mean, I think there's things that I would like to do, but I don't know if I really want accountability around them. Like in COVID, I picked up the ukulele and I was like really into it and jamming out in my house. And then I just totally let it go this whole last year. So it would be kind of fun. I see it around and I feel like it's just collecting dust and like staring me down. Like, why haven't you played me in a while? So there are definitely other things that I would like to build out in my life. And I'm getting super geeky about longevity. So maximizing like how long you can live and like your health. So it's been really fun to kind of like geek in that space and learn more
Have you
there.
read
So
Lifespan and David Sinclair, and have you gone through that?
I am reading Lifespan as we speak.
Oh,
I
wow.
know.
That's a great
So
book.
fun. Yeah. So it's very, very cool.
I've been taking like NMN now for like a year or so, and trying to do some of that stuff as well. And it's a fun journey to go down.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a longevity clinic here in Boulder, but of course, it's just one of those things where everything in life I feel like is like $5,000, and you're like, do you want to spend it here or here or here?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There's a lot of expensive ways, but optimizing my health doesn't seem like there would be a better way to spend my money. So.
There's 99 things that a healthy person wants, and only one thing an unhealthy person wants.
Yeah, that's true.
So, awesome.
So the last part before we go, because we're here almost at an hour, is that they wanted to get any information or recommendations of what we would advise newbies coming into today's market and like how to get started. I'm going to start with just saying that forever and always, I love a house hack. I know you feel the same. And it doesn't matter if you're house hacking by rent the room, by leaving your apartment and Airbnb, or having a midterm rental roommate, however you want to do it. But it is just the best way to get started. If you can have a low down payment and a low interest rate, you just really can't lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys know I'm a big proponent for house hacking. Even before that, though, like, what are you going to do? I think the first thing you need to do is find yourself somebody that can get you into the community of where you are, the real estate investing community. Go on BiggerPockets, find somebody there, reach out to some investor-friendly real estate agents. If you don't have one, let Z or I know. We will find you one in your area. We do it all the time. We have a huge network. Yeah. And just like get that, you need that one connection, right? Like I know me personally, if someone comes to me in Denver and they want to look for a house hacker and want to be part of a community, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, come on here. We have these meetups. You can meet a bunch of people. Oh, you got to meet this lender. You got to meet this contractor. You got to meet all these people. And eventually you're going to be in the community within a month. So you need to find the one person that can introduce you to everybody in your market so you can be in the community. You can see people investing. And then you're like, oh, if this guy can do it, I can do it. And then that's what gets you going. So find that person.
Yes. And one way to find that person, or just to kind of start building up your group and your inspiration, is through meetups. So there are virtual ones, there are in-person ones. So definitely reach out and go find those. You can go to meetup.com. You can check out Facebook groups. They even have meetups and events listed in BiggerPockets. So definitely check those out.
Yes. Awesome, Z. This was such a fun episode. I love hearing about your year. I think, you hear about all this stuff kind of throughout the year, but it's nice to get a recap and really kind of like solidify it in our memories as to what happened. And also super exciting to hear what you got going for next year. And I'm excited to live this next year with you on this podcast and maybe some other things coming up as well.
All right, guys. Well, share some of your goals and dreams with us. We'd love to hear it. I had a post just recently in my Facebook group called Airbnb Investing, where we were doing just that. And people were sharing what markets they're looking in so they could connect with other investors. That's a great way to do it. You can also share and tag us on Instagram and just let us know what you're visioning for this year. We'd love to see.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Tag us on Instagram. Follow us at the Fi Guys. Zeona is
Zeona McIntyre. And we will
let us
see
know
you
your
guys
goals
soon.
See you next week.
That's it for this episode of Investify. We hope that these nuggets of real estate wisdom lead to more savvy financial planning and a clearer path towards financial freedom. For more content like this, subscribe to the show at investify.com. Don't forget to leave a rating and share it with your friends. Together, we can transform more real estate newbies into successful and clever investors. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next one.